What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to be going over the essential Focus ST mods that every Focus ST owner should have, or at least be thinking about, because they make the biggest difference in the way that the car handles and looks. And the most important one, I think, just coming from if you have a stock ST, and the thing that I think it needs just to make it handle wise is a rear motor mount, but this actually goes for all three motor mounts. I would recommend the CPE Stage 2 rear motor mount because that is the one I have, and it is better than just a single motor mount, because this replaces both pieces to the factory motor mount instead of just doing one. So it gives one of them, makes one of them solid, and then one of them still has a bushing, and I have a video installing that if you want to look at it. But then also, in addition to this, if you drive your Focus a little bit harder, do autocross, race it, or even just like doing more spirited driving, I would highly recommend the PowerFlex passenger and transmission motor mount bushings. You can see it's that purple thing right in there. Then there's also a yellow piece that you can't really see, but it's under there. And then there's another one that is underneath the battery box here, and those just insert into your stock motor mounts, and they do give you a little bit more vibration, which will happen with any motor mount. But after they have kind of broken in a little bit, it's not too bad. If you daily drive this and have like your kids in it or anything like that, you probably wouldn't want to go the extra step to do the passenger and transmission motor mount bushings. But for me, since I drive the car more aggressively and do autocross, it does make a really big difference in the torque, steer, and wheel hop, and it makes your shifts feel a lot better because the engine doesn't move around. Like if I revved my engine right now, you wouldn't even see it move, which helps a lot. And the vibration isn't that bad unless you're at idle or rev it, or kind of let the clutch let it stall a little bit. It will vibrate quite a bit, but I think it is definitely worth it, and it is an essential mod because it helps with wheel hop and torque steer whenever you're launching. It also helps with grip and shifting, which honestly made the biggest difference in the way the car feels. Now, one of the next most essential mods for a Focus ST is going to be shift bushings slash a short shifter. I have a short shifter in my car. I have the JBR short shift arm, which if you do get a short shifter, you will want to stick with a short shift arm and not just one of the plates that bolts on to the stock one, because it's a little bit better for your synchros and transmission. But as far as the this kind of depends how far you want to go with your car. If it's more of like a daily driver, just kind of want to make it feel just a little bit better, then you will just want to do the shift bracket bushings and the shift cable bushings, which are actually pretty cheap. I think it's $30 each for both of them, just generically. And those make your shifts feel a lot more crisp because it gets rid of the soft rubber bushings and replaces them with hard metal ones. And it doesn't make it any like vibrating more or anything like that. There's really no negatives to them other than it feels better and more notchy and more direct when you're shifting. And then if you want to fix your longer shifts, I would recommend a short shift arm. And I have mine like a middle setting. I could go shorter and I can also go longer on my JBR short shift arm, but it just makes the car feel a lot better when you have shorter shifts, and you can also shift faster. It's just a lot notchier, and it makes the car feel a lot better overall. The next essential Focus ST mod is going to be an aftermarket intercooler. If you plan on getting your Focus ST tuned at all and going farther than just like going to a few things to make it feel just a little bit better, if you want to modify it and get it tuned, the first thing you need to do is get an intercooler, because the stock one is way too small, and this is where you get a lot of your power when you have a bigger intercooler. I have the Depot Racing 3.5 inch aftermarket intercooler, and there's tons of options out there. Depot Racing is a great one to go with. They are a little bit lower on the price side, and the quality is amazing, and they also have great customer service. And I have a video installing mine if you want to see that. It's not too difficult, and it is one of the most beneficial things you can do for a Focus ST, because it helps your charge temps go into the engine be a lot cooler, and that's where you pick up a lot of power and also avoid heat soak issues. So that is the first thing I would do if you know for sure you want to get your Focus ST tuned. I would do that before you do all the other mods. like exhaust and intake and all that, because it is probably the most important. One thing that's mainly just beneficial for the longevity of your Focus ST is going to be an oil catch can. I have one by AddW1 here on the PCV side, and then I also have their CCV side catch can. But the PCV side on the front is the more beneficial one. And what this does is it catches the oil before it gets, it's basically just it catches the blow by before it gets sucked back into your engine, and then makes your valves get all gunked up and dirty. And you should probably empty it every 3,000 miles or so with every oil change, because you can see this little can here. It's usually about half full every single time I do an oil change every 3,000 miles. So it is definitely a beneficial thing. It keeps a lot of oil that would otherwise go back in your engine and gunk it up and make it all dirty. This just catches it and filters it out before it goes back into the intake manifold. So I would highly recommend this for the longevity of your engine, because it keeps it cleaner and overall just help your car last longer. One thing that is beneficial but not necessarily essential, it's just kind of something a lot of people do, is a blow-off valve or diverter valve. I have the Go Fast Bits DV Plus. It's a diverter valve, so it doesn't make the psh noise like a lot of them do. And if you do get one, you do want to make sure that you get an adjustable one. And I would recommend either like the Turbo Smart one, which is like vents half to atmosphere and then it's like half recirculation. So it'll still make the psh noise, but it'll still recirculate the air back in your engine. Mine is just a diverter valve, so it just recirculates it back into the engine. I used to have a Boomba blow-off valve, but I got tired of the noise all the time. And the Go Fast Bits DV Plus makes a lot more turbo flutter, and I have a video on installing that and everything if you want to see how to do that. But that kind of just helps with throttle response, and it also helps with keeping boost in between shifts. But it's not as important, but most people replace it because it's not super expensive, and it is a good thing to upgrade on all Focus STs. The next essential mod is going to be an intake filter, and this is just the filter, not the whole entire intake, because unless you're going big turbo, actually getting an aftermarket intake for Focus ST will not really benefit you that much. As some like dyno sheets and things like that, really the only thing you need to get higher flow is the actual filter itself. I have a Cobb intake filter. You could get the green filter or any other aftermarket intake filter. It's super easy. You just take the intake box off, put in the new filter, and that'll get you some more turbo noise and also higher flow. And that's about where you're going to get the power out of. One thing I did was I cut my factory intake box. You can see I just added this weather seal on it and opened it up to get a little bit more airflow, and you also get more turbo noise out of that. And I do have a video on how to do that if you want. I do have an aftermarket intake on my car just because I got it for cheap, and the main thing that is going to do is get you more turbo noise, and you hear the spool and flutter more. But that's probably the last thing I would do if you're getting your Focus ST tuned, because it really makes the least amount of difference compared to the other mods that you could do on the car. And the next most important mod that you should do to a Focus ST is a downpipe / exhaust. I think an exhaust makes the car feel so much better once you can actually hear the engine when you're driving, and there's tons of options. You can get loud ones, quieter ones. I have the Cobb catback, which is probably more on the quieter side, but I also have a catless downpipe, which does make that quite a bit louder. But if you're going to make power and get your Focus ST tuned and you really want to maximize the potential on a stock turbo Focus ST, you definitely want a catless downpipe, and you want to pair that with a catback exhaust, because that is how you're going to get unlock a lot of power out of the car, is from the catless downpipe. And the catback also helps, but the catless downpipe is probably where most of the power comes from when you're getting your car tuned. So that is definitely something you want to look at. And honestly, an exhaust would probably be one of the first things I do to any car, just because who wouldn't want to hear the car? You don't have to make it obnoxiously loud. Like this one has a resonator and a muffler, but there's all kinds of different options out there. And you definitely want to look into a catalyst downpipe and exhaust if you're going for the max potential out of a Focus ST, which is kind of where this video is based off of, is where you can really improve the car to a point where it's actually worth it spending the money instead of doing like a whole big turbo and stuff that most people probably won't do. And to bring all of these things together, what you're going to want to get is a custom tune. You do not want to use one of the Cobb tunes that comes on the access port. You don't want to buy like a little $100 flash tune. That is not what you want for. First of all, it does not make the most power. It does not make the car feel the best. And then second of all, it is not best for your engine. Stay away from the Cobb off-the-shelf tunes that come on your access port altogether. Those are not good for your engine, and they have caused a lot of people to blow their engines. What I would recommend is a custom tune, which is where a tuner makes the tune specifically for your car, and you do data logs, and it's essentially like a dyno tune but on the street. You can have that done by JST Performance, Panda Motorworks, Edge Autosport. Those are kind of the three top brands that do that and do make custom tunes. I'm tuned by JST on a custom E30 tune. I also have the option for pump gas, and I have a whole video on that process if you want to look into that. But after you do all these mods, you definitely want to have your car tuned, especially the catalyst downpipe. You can run the car without a tune, but you definitely should to help with fuel mileage and just longevity of the car. But it's really the best thing you can do for the car is have it custom tuned, because that really just unlocks the last bit of potential you have out of the car. And then the tuner will also give you more information on how to do that, and you also need supporting mods like you have to change the spark plugs. You get step colder spark plugs, and also change the gap on them. And then you can also tighten your wastegate to get a little bit more power out of the stock turbo. But that is pretty much it for the essential performance mods on a Focus ST. Obviously, there's a lot of cosmetic stuff that I would recommend, like lowering springs, coilovers. You definitely want to do that because these cars come as monster trucks, and then you like wheels and all kinds of other things like that that make the car look a lot better. But these are kind of just the essential mods that you should do to make it feel better, and that's kind of ST specific that these cars in specific need, other than just making it look cool. But that is pretty much it. Please leave a like and subscribe, and feel free to ask me any questions down in the comments, or DM me on Instagram at Nickjoenap, just the same as my channel name. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.